Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Audio Fanfics and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was always overpowered? OP Naruto, massive character bashing, chaos in Konoha, Naruto times Hinata times Ino times Sakura times Anko times Tsunade times Shizune times Tamari times Tenten times Kurenai times Yugao times Mei times Konan times Karen times Yugito times Samui times Mabui times Fu times Ayame times OC Ultimate Infinite Harem, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. I stare up at a stone ceiling as I run my hand through my spiky blonde hair as I lie on a small corner bed with plain white sheets. The walls around me are plain stone and plaster, covered in a gray paint that has faded and chipped over the years. I take in a breath as I swing my legs out of bed, tossing the covers aside. I stand up hearing a lot of popping coming from my joints as I stretches after a long night in bed. Damn, that feels good. I start walking as I clap my hands once as the lights come on, showing the interior of the hidden bunker I use as my safe haven. The only true last place I actually feel safe in this Kami-forsaken village. I walk into the bathroom flipping the tap as cold water fills the basin. After a second I turn it off and splash the cold water in my face, feeling myself awaken fully from my half-asleep state. I relax my feet on the cold slate flooring as take another breath before opening my eyes. I look in the mirror as my blue eyes look back at me as I let a slight grin come to my lips. Finally, today's the day. No more clowning around. It's been 4 years, but it will all have been worth it when I Naruto Uzumaki become a shinobi. I look myself over in the mirror. My body was muscular and well-toned, not an inch of wasted fat or skin. But then that's what you get for training you're off for 3.5 years. I let my eyes trace down his abs to fall on something I have long since grown accustomed to, the Hake Fuin 8 trigrams seal. You awake, Kurama? I called out mentally in my mind, waiting for the rough voice to respond. Kid, I'm awake, and I'm looking forward to the show today. It's been a long time coming, the dark voice responded. That is has. I flex my neck once more to the left and right, letting 2 loud pops echo out. After today I can finally have stopped putting on that Kami ugly track suit, and show the world the real Naruto Uzumaki. I drop my slacks as I walk into the shower and let the cold water wash over my body. Cold shower, nothing like it to get the blood pumping, before turning it to a more comfortable temperature. After leaving the shower I grab a towel and begin to dry myself off, walking over to the other side of bunker towards my closet. The concrete bunker was the only safe haven I had in the whole village. Sure, there was Hokage Gigi's office. No one would dare lay a finger on me in front of Gigi, but I couldn't live there. My apartment, what was left of it, wasn't safe at all. Everyone in the village knew where I lived and they all wanted me dead. Well, as close as they could beat me to it at least. The majority of them anyway, like 99.7% did, but that was only counting the adults. I have had my share of beatings and attacks over the years, but the military police never gave a damn. Hell, I could even remember some of them watching as it happened and some even taking part. Bunch of lousy bastards, but they always left me alive, not wanting to risk what was inside me getting out. Oi, I'm right here, you know. Sorry, Kurama, but it's true. I know, but that will all change. Damn straight. I walked over to the wardrobe, now dry, and began pulling on my new gear, that I had acquired over the past 6 months from those shops that had accidentally overcharged me at 5 times the normal price. Never got caught, of course, but I can think of a group that would love to prove I did. The Civilian Council has been trying to screw me over since I could walk. I only put that together after I found out all the secrets Hokage Gigi and the rest of them have been hiding from me, and let me tell you, I was pissed. I had been pulled into my subconscious after a rather brutal attack, well, a more brutal than normal attack, and found myself waking up in a dark abyss, sitting on the floor with water dripping all around me, and in front of me a massive barred door, and on the other side was the biggest set of teeth I have ever seen. Hee, thanks, kid. And the foulest breath. What, you want me to rip you too? Enough. Kurama, stop interrupting Naruto. And Naruto, stop dissing the sensitive fox over here. I'm not sensitive. I said that's enough out of you, or else you'll regret it. Or what? What ya going to do? How about instead of the nine-tails fox it's a cute and cuddly nine-tails bunny rabbit instead? Single quote comma dot dot single quote. Thought that would work. Now no more interruptions. Naruto continue. Thanks author Sama. Anyway. Needless to say the teeth wasn't very pleased with what had been going on outside and finally decided to make himself known, and I of course was freaking out as the massive nine-tailed fox in front of me. Things progressed after I finally calmed down and the fox told me everything, about it, about the past, who I was, and what happened the night of the attack, how he was pulled out and made to attack the village. After that the two of us came to an understanding. In exchange for his power and knowledge I would be a better container and also promise if I ever came across the man that controlled him that night I would end him. After that whole incident I started training a whole lot more. In secret of course, couldn't let those bastards from the civilian council catch me actually getting stronger. If they did they'd do their worst and get me kicked from the academy, and I'll be damned if I'm going to be under their thumb for the rest of my life. At least if I'm under Gigi's protection as a shinobi of the village I'm free to do as I like and there are laws protecting me from everyone else. So how did I do it, you ask? It was a pain in the butt the first few nights until I got the shadow clone technique down, thanks to Kurama for teaching me it. Turns out have a very old tenant inside you to teach you stuff can come in handy. Gaki. It was a compliment. After I learned that technique my training really sped up. While I was training at night I had a few hundred clones assisting and gathering resources. You wouldn't believe how wasteful shinobi can be, leaving old scrolls and weapons just lying around on the training fields when they're of no use anymore. Hell, I even sent a few expedition teams into the Forest of Death the day after any exams are done to gather up anything useful, and there was loads. Sure, it took a while given how dangerous the place is, but I was easily able to do it after the first year of training. Noting gets wasted, and I'll be damned if I'm going to pay anyone in the village for anything I need. I live off the land and down here. It's got its own little lamp garden perfect for growing all the fruit and veg I need. And when it comes to the things I can't get myself, which normally comes down to eggs and milk, I send a transformed shadow clone to the store and buy as I need and no more. A guy can't live off ramen alone, though there was a time when I tried for a while. I dust myself off in my new kit. Long black combat trousers with 3 pockets down the leg, a black no-sleeved shirt underneath, and I pulled on a sleeveless black coat with a hood on the back. I pulled over my black face mask but kept it around my neck as I pulled on my red armband with the Uzumaki clan symbol on it in white. Same that's on the back of my coat. I had done my research on my mother's clan in the days that followed me, finding out about my parents. I had learned how they were extremely knowledgeable in the art of fuinjutsu, seals and sealing, and were both respected and feared worldwide because of their prodigious skill. But that, however, eventually led to the destruction of Uzushiogakure and the rest of the land of whirlpools during the era of shinobi world wars, as other nations had begun to see the village as too great a threat to go unchecked. And how it was a combined assault from enemy villages that destroyed and decimated my mother's clan in a 3-day siege, and that the Leaf Village's aid only arrived on the 4th when it was too late, but that they drove what little remained of the enemy forces into the ground. Hence why there is a red and black swirl on the back of every Chunin and Johnny flat jacket as a sign of remembrance for their failure that night. Not that I blame them, they did what they could, but what burns me is the fact that isn't taught in the academy curriculum. It was removed by the civilian council, probably didn't want me knowing about my heritage, or trying to resurrect my clan. No, all they care about is their precious Sasuke Uchiha, the last Uchiha. Damn, I partied hard that night of the Uchiha slaughter. About 70% of my attacks were from the Uchiha, bastards. So hell yeah, I didn't feel like mourning for them. If I ever meet Itachi Uchiha, I'm buying that man a drink. I know he had his own reasons for doing it, but my life got a whole lot easier after that night. I open the door to the rest of the bunker and I close the door and begin walking through the hall to the storage room. I clap again and the light comes on as I kite it up, pulling 2 scrolls filled with shrunken and kunai and slot them into my pants pocket. I grab a bag on food pills and drop them in my back one, before pulling the rest of my kit. I walk out of the room clapping again, turning off the light as I smirk slightly, looking to the end of the hall and the passage to the street that is actually a gaping hole with an inviolable barrier and illusion jutsu that I set up after having discovering this place the first time. It was originally a trick wall that opened out if you pushed on a certain brick. I had discovered it once when I was being chased by a group of villagers on the anniversary of the Nine Tails attack, my birthday. I got ahead of them and ran down the alleyway only to discover it was a dead end. I tried to climb the wall but ended up flipping the switch and opened the door, then fell on my face inside as it closed. Luckily there was a little light and I found a light switch, and the stuff that was in here beforehand, let me tell you this, it was stuff out of nightmares, or a sadist's fun book. Some of the most rancid sights I've ever seen or smelled in my life. And I've been in the forest of death after the Chunin and Jonin exams, and that stuff can get nasty. I piled all the stuff out in the forest and burned the lot of it, well, anything that wasn't useful, that is, waste not whatnot. There were some pretty advanced jutsu scrolls and an armory I kept for myself, plus there was even a training room in here that has come in handy over the years. I just leave a shadow clone at the apartment with enough chakra for the weekend and tell him to study while I sneak here to train myself. The place even has a kitchen so I never have to leave. Well, the odd time sure for fresh air, but the place is surprisingly well ventilated. Whoever built this place knew what they were doing, I'll say that much. Well, time to start the day. I walk to the door as I pull on my leaf Hitai 8 that I got yesterday. Yay, I passed the exam. Talk about a miracle. I know I could have passed it in my sleep. Half the stuff I learned within the week of finding out the truth and the jutsu and skills part of it was a piece of piss too. But I had a plan and I had to stick to it if I was going to be a shinobi. Technically I'm not right now. I did my research. That first 3-part test is just weeding out the hopeless from the possible. The real test will be done after we're in out teams, and as much as I hate it, there is one team I have to be in. That pampered Uchiha's, it's the only way I'll pass. No doubt the sensei who gets him will have orders to pass him in whatever team he's on regardless, so it's the only possible way I'll pass. Any other instructor would mostly likely fail whatever team I'm on just because of me being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Damn bastards can't even tell the difference between a sword and the scroll it's sealed in. Anyway, I knew in order to get on his team I had to be dead last in our year, otherwise I'd never land in his team. With the way the academy sets out teams, they need to be balanced so the best student levels out with the worst student. And that's would be Sasuke, Tem and me. They'll probably put a book smart girl in between us. That's Sakura. No doubt her mother will have probably pulled some strings or sucked some to get her placed with Sasuke. She's been trying to get those two together from the very start. Hell, I'd bet she'd be willing to mount him if she could get away with it all to get her family into some prestigious clan. Yay, right, he's the last one, some prestige that is, and I just couldn't help myself but try to throw some monkey wrenches into it by showing interest in Sakura and constantly trying to get her to go out with me. Don't get me wrong, she's good looking, but the Pinky is a fangirl. If she didn't have her mother yapping in her ear and Sasuke vision and a complete obsessional competition with Ino, she might just make a good kunoichi. Walking through the barrier, I simply used a shunshin in a gust of black leaves reappearing in my apartment, looking over to see my clone meditating on the bed. I release him and discard any useless memories, a trick Kurama taught me to do. Gotta love the memory palace. I look around my apartment at the mess. It has been trashed a few nights before. I never kept anything here other than some spare clothes, so I couldn't really care about the rest. The bunker was more a home than here. I had come back here more times than I can remember, only to walk into some painful traps some of the villagers and probably other shinobi had set up, but they had helped me become more aware on my surroundings over the years and sharpen my reflexes. I can't tell you the number of times I've had to dodge a dozen or so kunai coming at me as I open the door to my room, or how I had to barricade my windows to keep projectiles out or block my mail slot to keep people dropping stink bombs in or dog shit, but those had mainly been kids. There was even a year when the place was hit with a low explosive tag. I spent a week repairing the ceiling after that one, only because I had to scavenge for the materials cause the shops wouldn't sell me the materials. Well, after today hopefully all that will be behind me, because now if any one of them tries to attack me I'll have the right to return their gesture without fear of reprisals. Keeping up my charade of living here, I opened the door and walked out with a smirk on my face. I could feel my Anbu Watcher's chakra, though they were suppressing it. Still didn't suspect a thing. I began to walk down the steps onto the street, getting some of the usual looks and some unusual looks. Most were looking at me cold or with anger, distrust, resentment, disgust. But now there were some curious glances coming my way. Must be my new attire. Yay, I can't wait to see how heads turn when I get to class and people start reacting to it. A little part of me is actually looking forward to it. So am I. It will finally be time to put a few punks in their place and go after that vixen that's always had her eyes on you. Yay, finally time to return my feelings to Hinata-chan. I won't imagine her clan will like that very much, but I will deal with them personally if they even try to put that damn seal on her. That thing is an insult to all seals and anyone who practices the art. I should march into the compound and erase every single trace of them doing something like that to people who are your family is beyond inhuman. Calm it, partner. No need to go blowing your top over such matters, we'll get to them in time. I take a deep breath while walking to calm down. I could feel my fingernails shrinking again. Thanks, Kurama. Can't go ape shit in the middle of town. Don't think Gigi would like that. I looked up at the Hokage monument with a smirk. I be sure to make you proud too, San. I'll be damned if I'm going to let this village to continue to look down on me and treat me like this. I'll restore the Uzumaki clan. I'll become Hokage and make them see just who they have been shunning all these years, that I swear. I came up to the academy, hands in my pockets, still remembering Iruka-sensei's face when he was able to present me with the leaf Hitai-8. I had of course replaced the blue sash with a black one to match my attire. Still awesome. Mizuki-sensei had looked annoyed that I had passed, but he had congratulated me all the same. I could tell he never meant a word of it, asshole. I had taken the back way in, and just as I opened the door I heard a noise behind me. I glanced to see Sakura and Ino coming down the hallway at high speed, butting heads the entire way. They didn't even notice as I stood to the side and they just pushed past me, pushing their way into the room. As they entered they began bickering who was first. I just sighed listening to the two of them. No way, Ino pig, my foot was at least an inch ahead of yours. In your billboard brow dreams maybe, I was inches ahead of you. It's too early in the morning for yelling. I just walk in the door and they don't even notice as I put my hand behind their head and in a single motion. Conk. I knock their heads together and they slump to the floor, seeing stars. Everyone looks up at the sudden silence. We'll all except the brooding Uchiha, that is. A small smile graces my lip. Ah, silence, that's much better. I say as I begin to walk down the steps to the sit opposite Hinata-chan and smile sitting down. I can already see her cheeks are blushing. So cute. I just want to pick her up and squeeze her like a teddy bear. I want to hug her tight and never let go. Hinata-chan, why are you so cute? As I'm doing my best not to hug Hinata with all my might, Shikamaru passes us and looks at me. What are you doing here, Naruto? This class isn't for dropouts. I smirk. Shikamaru is smart, and it's only fair that he thinks I failed. I was acting like a clown for 3.5 years and then acting out all the years prior, so I cut him a little slack. Look again, Shikamaru. They generally don't give you one of these if you fail, I say, touching my Hitai-8 headband. He sigh. Mendoku's troublesome. Well, congrats on passing, I suppose. He offers me a handshake and I take it with a nod. He walks away. Naruto-kun, you did pass. I'm so glad. Though, Hinata blushing like crazy. Hopefully we'll be on the same team, Hinata thought as she looked to Naruto, trying not to let him see her do so but failing. I glanced out the side of my eye to see Hinata looking at me. I smiled. Well, now's as good a time as ever. I turned to look at her. Hey Hinata, mind if I ask you something? Hinata's cheeks blushed hearing Naruto talk to her. She was suddenly feeling so warm. Why yes, and Naruto-kun, what do you want to ask me? She stuttered out. I was just wondering if perhaps we could go out for a meal sometime. We never normally do, but I was hoping we could change that and get to know each other a bit better. Naruto-kun asking me out on a date. A date with Naruto-kun. Don't faint, don't. Oh. Suddenly Hinata's head started to bob and yep, she fainted. I sighed. Sometimes she's just too cute for her own good. Sometimes I muse in my though. My eye was brought out of my though by someone barking at me. Hey. Dead last. That's my seat. Scram. I look over my shoulder to see Kiba Inuzuka glaring down at me with his partner, Akamaru, in his coat. I sigh thinking this would happen. He'd been acting all high and might all year ever since he got the seat beside Hinata at the start of the year and has been eyeing her up much to my displeasure. I acutely had to sabotage some of his attempts to get close to Hinata. Not that she would ever consider go with this mud over me, but I was taking no chance with Hinata-chan. I know how this punk views women cause I've heard him talking and boasting in the past. There no way in hell I'm letting him treat Hinata like that. I'd rather gouge out my own eyeballs and bow to Sasuke Tem before I would even consider that. If he tries anything I'll neuter him with a blunt kunai before he so much as even lays one stinking paw on her. There are other seats Kiba-san, and this one has already been claimed, I say in as calm a tone as possible, while every bone in my body is screaming at me to skin this punk alive, him and his mutt. I have no intention of moving as I'm quite comfy here. Yay, well, tough shit. That my seat next to my woman, now move it. His woman. Oh shit. Of all the things he could have said, that was probably in the top 5 of the worst things he could say in this situation. Goodbye, dog boy. Crack. Crash. Everyone in the room flinched at the first sound. Flesh impacting flesh as I swung round and backhanded Kiba across his face and sent him flying down the stairs and crashed into the floor. He was most definite, seeing dog bones dancing around his head. I stood up and make my way down to him, picking him up by his collar and hoisting him off the ground and holding him in midair, showing no emotion. I speak. Let's get one thing straight here, mutt. Hinata belongs to no one but herself. She is not your property, nor is any woman for that fact, so I will make this as clear as possible. Should I ever hear you talk to any woman or anyone like you own them or you think you are above them again, or even try to lay a finger on a woman who does not want you to, I will personally see to it that you find yourself balls deep in a blunt bear trap. Am I understood? I say that last bit letting some killing intent leak out, and I can see him break out in a cold sweat at Akamaru cowers in his coat. I release my grip on him and he lands on his feet only to drop to his ass, eyes wide, not sure what just happened. I smirk and turn to head back up the steps to my seat. The whole time I can feel everyone watching me. I couldn't help but smirk inwardly, just the reaction I was hoping for. We both were. No more playing weakling, it's time to start kicking, and that pup and the 2 bitches were the perfect starters. Lay off the girls, will ya? Ino isn't too bad, just a loud mouth. Sakura is the same, the only real prick is the emo. I let my eyes glance over and see the always brooding Sasuke Tem is now staring at me in a sideways glance. Keep watching, Tem. Next time we spar I'm going to enjoy beating you down. I return to my seat and look over to see Hinata is still sleeping. I was about to wake her up when everyone hears, oh. From the 2 loud mouths I knocked out on entering the room. Looks like those 2 are awake. They really need to build up their capacity for pain. I didn't even knock them together that hard, it was only a tap, yet they were out cold. Not good for field ops. Would you 2 keep it down? Some of us would still like to be able to hear when we're 20, and you're distracting the emo from his brooding. There were a few chuckles around the room. Everyone knew who I was talking about, and now his curious sideways stare had become a sideways glare. I gave a little smirk before holding my ears. Naruto. Both bimbos yelled. I thought I told you 2 to keep it down. I snarled, giving them a glance at them loaded with killing intent. Ever since Kurama started giving me control over his chakra, I've noticed slight changes, one of the major ones being my senses are all heightened. Hearing, sight all heightened to the extreme of where I can hear those in other rooms, or see the smallest details most don't see. I'm not comparing it to the Byakugan, cause Kami knows they can see for miles, like 21 thousandths. Mine would be about a fourth of that, say 2250ths. I'm good, but I'm no Byakugan, and with my hearing, and their screaming, I was starting to get a headache. Now, in fairness, Ino shivered at the killing intent I threw her way and she immediately backed down with her eyes wide. Did that come from Naruto? What the hell was that? It felt like a chill ran down my spine and I was punched in the gut at the same time so hard I couldn't breathe. She slowly took her seat, still visibly shaken. I'll have to apologize later. I can be a little testy sometimes, maybe a little less next time. But to no surprise, Sakura completely ignored it and was still bitching my ear off me. What the hell, Baka? You come in out of nowhere and whack me over the head. What the hell's up with your clothes? Are you trying to be cool like Sasuke-kun? If so, it's never going to. Before she could say another word, I was standing face to face with her, eyes narrowed, scowl on my face, and I used the same tone as I did with Kiba towards the end. What part of keep it down aren't you getting? For someone wanting to be a kunoichi, you really don't know when to shut up. Billboard brow. So let me give you some helpful advice. When someone tells you to shut up, you shut the, especially when that someone has a headache from you running your mouth on 11 when he has sensitive hearing. And for the record, I didn't even hit you that hard. It was a simple smack to the back of the head to get you to shut up. Though I see it's had the opposite effect for some reason, so unless you want me to really hit you, take my advice. Sit the down and shut the up before I end up slitting your cami damn throat. Thump. I sigh. That did it. I put so much killing intent into that last bit. She collapses on the floor from the exposure. I shake my head as I bend down and pick her up and carry her down the steps bridal style, and I come to the free seat beside Sasuke Tem. One passed out Uchiha fangirl for the brooding emo, I say as I sit her down. At least this way she will be quiet for a few minutes to let you continue with your brooding. I turn to walk away. Dope. What with the new look? I turn, looking at him with an uninterested look. Not that is any of your business, Uchiha, but I just thought I'd get serious now, seeing as we're now shinobi, and will be going on missions shortly. I figured a kill me now orange tracksuit wouldn't exactly work well on missions requiring stealth. Not that I had any problems hiding from Jonan and Anbu wearing it in when I did my pranks. Great ways to test how far I had come. I could easily pull off stunts and get always undetected, but I enjoyed the chase a few times a week. It's not like I'm trying to steal your nickname emo, though if I suddenly dye my hair black, glue a ducks to the back of my head and start moping every day, then start worrying. He glares at me at that last comment. As I turn to walk away, I feel the air moving behind me and I tilt my head as a kunai whistles past my head and embeds itself in the doorframe just as Iruka sensei comes in. Everyone gasps. I just raise an eyebrow. Iruka sensei looks at me, strange for a minute, must be my new clothes, but then it turned to an unimpressed look. I jolt my thumb over my shoulder. Don't look at me, I was the intended target, that's all, the Uchiha. I said as I walked up the steps. Iruka watched me go but then looked to Sasuke. Sasuke, might I see you in the hallway for a moment? Sasuke glares at me as he gets up and leaves with Iruka sensei. I just return to my seat as the door closes. I look to the still sleeping Hinata, and smile as I placed my hand on her shoulder, gently shaking her to wake her up. Hinata, Hinata, come on, it's time to wake up. Iruka sensei will be in any moment now. I said as I gently shook her shoulder. I was having such a wonderful dream. I dreamt Naruto-kun was asking me out on date, but then everything went black and I never got to say yes. Hinata said as she started to wake up, not realizing where she was. I couldn't help but smile. Well, I've got good news then. That actually wasn't a dream, and I only asked you out for dinner sometime. But if you want, we can make it a date. Hinata's eyes shot open, staring into my blue eyes, and her cheeks went a dark crimson as she quickly covers her face with her hands. I can't believe I just said that in front of Naruto-kun. Hinata turned away, index fingers poking together and her head down with a blush on her cheeks. I smiled at that as I got an idea. I'll take that as a yes then, I'll look forward to it. How about tomorrow night? I'll meet you at Ichiraku's is 6 then, Hinata-chan. Hinata's blush deepened even further till she looked red as a tomato. He called me Chan. He called me Chan. I must be dreaming. It's got to be a dream, or the best thing ever. I smiled watching her reaction, but turned to face the front when the doors opened and Tem walked back in, followed by Iruka sensei, who just shook his head as he walked to position and faced the class. only for him to look at the pinkett and asked, "Why is Sakura out cold?" I raise my hand, because she's weak-willed and has a loud mouth. I state plain as day. Everyone in the class chuckled. Uruka-sensei stifled a chuckle, shaking his head. "Well, we can just inform her of the team assignment when she wakes up. Now listen up, Team 1. I zoned out until I actually heard some stuff that interested me. Instead, I leaned over and whispered, "Hey Ino." My fellow blonde jumped slightly at my voice. "Why yes. Listen, I'm sorry about that little chill earlier. I need to learn to hold back sometimes." "We cool." I smiled. "Why yay. We're cool, Naruto." She gives a small smile back. I nod as I look down to the front of the room. Squad 7, Sakura Haruno, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha. I smirk. Well, what do ya know, looks like my plan worked after all. Squad 8, Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame. I look over to see Hinata frowning. Ah, Hinata without a smile isn't cute at all. I just want to cuddle her and tell her it's going to be alright. But I've got to build up my new image. No more clown, it's kick ninja time. I look over to Kiba, glare filled with killing intent. He caught my glare and immediately looks away. That's right, bitch, cower before me. If I even get a whiff of you trying anything with Hinata, I'll make you wish you had never been born. Squad 9 is still in rotation, so, Squad 10, Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akamichi. Well, just like their parents, the next generation of Ino Shikacho is born. Can't beat the classics. Now let's see who our Jonin sensei is going to be. Whoever it is, I just hope he can keep the tem in line. The last thing I need is to be worrying about is the tem trying to stab me in the back. But I hope he tries. I don't give a damn what the council says, and I could care less if he's the last Uchiha. If he tries anything on me, I won't mind lugging a body bag home after an accidental misfire of a bomb tag. Sure, Sakura would mourn for a while, but then she can get on with her life and find a nun emo to settle down with. Damn, partner, those are some dark thoughts. I'm so proud. In the next 5 minutes we sat there as each of the other teams were claimed by their senseis and went on their way. Even Uruka sensei left after that after looking at the squad chart and sighed. Great, looks like our squad leader is going to be a late riser in the morning. Well, at least I know I can do my own training when he's not around. I wonder who it could be. I thought as I got up and walked down to the front and looked at the list, narrowing my eyes as I read the names. Squad 7, Kakashi Hatake. Oh perfect, the copy ninja. Well, I should have seen that one coming. He's the only one left in the village with a Sharingan now, so it would make sense to make him sensei of the team Tem is on. But though he was in Anbu, I could have sworn he was Inu, and also my 2 Sans last living student. Kind of ironic, but in a good way. I set down the list and I looked over to see Sakura starting to stir. This should be good. Hey billboard brow, wake up already. Her head shoots up, eyes wide with fear at my voice. Boy, I really did a number on her. Oh well, at least I won't have to worry about her trying anything with the tem behind my back. But I still need her to be functional. Time to do some damage control. I walked over to the now shaking Sakura, whose eyes are wide like a deer in headlights. Calm down, Sakura. No one's going to hurt you, it's just the 3 of us here. You see, you're right beside your brooding emo prince Sasuke-kun. Okay, now I want to rinse my mouth out with soap. Sakura glances over and sees Sasuke and starts to calm down. Better get comfortable, this could be a long wait. I walk over to the windowsill and sit on the edge and reach into my coat, pulling out my copy of Ika Ika Paradise, a small orange book, open it and begin reading. Oh, I love this part. I've read and reread this book 5 times now and I still want more. I can't wait for the next edition to come out. Time skip. A further 3 hours have passed and the 3 of us are starting to get impatient. Well, the other 2 are. I'm quite happy reading my book. Granted, I could be doing something productive, like Fuinjutsu, as I finished the last books I found on it last month and I've learned all I can until I can find the copies I haven't been able to scavenge, and there's no way I'd take out one of my jutsu scrolls. The Tem would just try to take it from me, declaring it his right as an Uchiha to master all jutsu. Bullshit, he just want to kill Itachi. Tough shit. He's getting nothing from me, and him kill Itachi biggest pile of bullshit, Itachi would squash him like a bug. I wish he had that night, but I guess everyone has their limits, but there was always a small nag at the back of my mind. Why would he do it? Why would Itachi slaughter his own clan? It makes no sense. I don't buy that bullshit that he did it to prove his strength. There's go to be some reason behind it, but what? Slowly the door opens and we all look up to see a masked man poke his head in. He had a face mask on with his Hittite covering his left eye. He looked around the room and stopped at me and then my book. I smirked as I folded the page, closed it and slipped it back into my coat and stood up. Well, my first impressions, two boring and one with an impeccable taste in reading material. I smiled at me, I grinned back, meet me on the roof in 5. He said before disappearing out the door again. I sighed with a smile as the other two headed out the door and took the long way up. I just opened the window, gripping the top and pulling myself out and standing on the wall and walked up the vertical surface. No sense having the skills and not using them. Besides, there are only a few reasons why a Jonin would be so late to an assignment. 1, he's just lazy. 2, he was setting traps to test his new students, or 3, both of the above. I made it to the roof and sat down. Next think I know Kakashi appears in a shunshin with a whirlwind of leaves. He looks shocked seeing me already up here. He blinked a few times with his visible eye in shock. How did? A ninja never reveals his secrets, I smiled. Kakashi smiles at me, that he does, or doesn't in this case. As if on cue we both took out our little books and started reading. How many time you read it? I asked. Several. You. He replied without missing a beat. 5, but I didn't get a copy for a while after it came out. I was late to the fun. I smirked. We both smiled and went back to our reading. 5 minutes later the door on the roof opened and Sakura and Sasuke come out the door looking like they had went through a minefield. Their hair was messy, their clothes torn and I swear I saw singe marks. I simply looked to Kakashi. I think I'm starting to like you already, Kakashi-sensei. He smiles at me as we both watched out 2 teammates walk over to us and then the look of shock on their faces seeing me up here. How the hell did you get up here before us, dope? The Tem barked. And how do you not have a scratch on you? Whined the Pinkett. I folded and closed my book. That is for me to know and for you to never find out. I can already feel the anger pulsing off of them both. Dope, you will tell me what I want to know. Maybe when you actually have a chance of doing it I'll tell you, but as you stand now, not a chance in hell. I smirked, rolling my eyes. His fists were clenching and he looked ready to swing for me, but then Kakashi stood up between us. Alright, that's enough from you two. He said. I could feel the seriousness in his voice. I knew he didn't want to see us fighting. I knew all about his past and the fact that he was the last of the 3 my father trained, so I would respect his wishes. No problem, Kakashi-sensei. Just a little spat between comrades, nothing to worry about. I say with a grin. Tem just *TCHS and brushes past us both and goes to sit down with Sakura following him like a lost pink kitten. Kakashi leans into my ear. Is he always like that? What? With a 20-foot pole rammed up his? Yes, but normally he's just a brooding emo. Hopefully he'll be able to pull the pole out with a few weeks of training. I say with a grin. As I walk over and take a seat, Kakashi leans against the railing. Alright, why don't you introduce yourselves one at a time? Kakashi says with an smile. Introduce ourselves? What are we supposed to say? Asked Sakura. Smack. Everyone looks over at me face palming. Before I groaned out, Sakura, did you really just ask for instructions on how to give an introduction? Sometimes I think I'm losing faith in the academy teachings. What was that? Naruto? Sakura said, clenching her fist. I stuck her with a glare and she immediately cowered behind Sasuke. I smirked. Alright, settle down, Kakashi said, raising his hands in a take it easy gesture. Sakura, what I meant by introduce yourselves is simple. Name, likes, dislikes, dreams for the future, maybe some jutsu you use, hobbies, that sort of thing. Here, I'll go first. I'm Kakashi Hatake. Things I like and things I hate. I don't feel like telling you that my dreams for the future Never really thought about it. Jutsu I use, you'll see eventually. As for hobbies, I have many hobbies, one of which is reading. He then looks to me with a smile and I smile back with a thumb up. I smirked. Well played, Kakashi. Alright, well, start with you, Pinky. Kakashi said, pointing at Sakura. Hi, I'm Sakura Haruno. Jutsu I know, the basic academy stuff I guess. What I mean the person I like is, looks to Sasuke. My hobbies, looks to Sasuke. My dreams for the future, looks to Sasuke. High-pitched squeal. And what do you hate? Asks Kakashi. Naruto. Kakashi looks to me, who right now is pulling myself across the floor. Must get away from. Fangirl. Screaming. He chuckles. You're up, emo. Sasuke growls. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I hate a lot of things, and don't particularly like anything. Jutsu I use, mostly my clan's fire style. What I have is not a dream because I will see it a reality. I will restore my clan and kill a certain someone. Wind blows over the roof and everyone is in thought. Damn, classic brooding emo. Oh well, I'm sure Kakashi will be able to pull the pull out his, I hope. I thought. Ooh, Sasuke so hot, and you will be mine. Sakura thought. He's worse than I thought. Well, the sooner I get to pulling, the sooner he can get to acting like a real shinobi and put all that Itachi shit behind him. But damn, I just hope they can get it together as a team. I know I've got to pass them because of him being on this team, so if they can work together, that will just make it a little easier, thought Kakashi. Alright, you're up, Blondie. I had returned to my original position, but I was lying back looking up at the clouds, thinking best how to approach this. Well, here we go. Names: Naruto Uzumaki. Things I like. I can't really think of any I want to put out there. Things I hate. That's a long list, and we don't have time to hear it all, so I'll sum it up into the top 3. The Civilian Council, ignorant people, and pink-haired fangirls. As for hobbies, reading and training basically covers that. Jutsu, you'll see soon enough, and dreams for the future. To become Hokage is my ambition, to protect those closest to me and see wrongs made right. I think that about covers it. There was an even quieter silence afterwards. He's grown up into quite an interesting boy, and those are some pretty vague and other accurate hates, but then given the life he's led, I can't exactly blame him. I can't count the number of times when I had to pull him from a mob or carry him to the hospital after one of those incidents, though. Kakashi. Single quote, comma, dot, single quote. Thought Sasuke. What the hell was that all about? That wasn't like Naruto at all. Where's the fun, goofy kid from a few days ago in the last 4 years? And he used to be so naive. What changed in him? Wait, did he say the Civilian Council? Thought Sakura. Hey, why do you hate the Civilian Council? My mother's on that council. I looked to Sakura. Yes, and she is just one of the many reasons why the council is in my top 3. Right up there with the rest of the village and you, so our feeling are mutual, Sakura. There was a stunned moment of silence as Sakura's eyes grew wide. No Chan, just Sakura. What happened to him to make him like this? To change from the little boy who was fawning over me all the time? This isn't the Naruto I know at all. The silence continued for a few more moments before Kakashi broke the silence. Well, it's good to see you all have unique personalities and dreams. Now we relax until tomorrow, when we will be starting our first mission. I smiled slightly at that. Looks like he's not fooling around. Straight down to the next test tomorrow. I don't mind that, it will give me a chance to talk to Gigi, and I've got my date with Hinata-chan tomorrow, so I can just spend the rest of the day setting things in motion. What kind of mission is it, sensei? Asked Sakura. Both Kakashi-sensei and I chuckled at that. Kakashi looked to me. I take it someone's done his research on what the first task is all teams perform before they actually are put to work. Kakashi asks me, I smiling. I chuckled. Yep, and I have to say it's devious. I'll let you tell them, I just want to watch their reactions. Both the pinkett and duck butt look at me for a second, but then roll their eyes and look back to Kakashi. Alright, it's a survival exercise unlike any you have done previously at the academy previously. Kakashi grinned through his mask. What's so special about this exercise? Sakura asked, clueless. That's where I spoke up. Well, that's the kicker, Sakura. Out of the 27 of us who graduated from the academy, only 9 will actually be accepted as genin, the rest will be either dropped back to the academy or dropped from the program altogether. Now you see why I was chuckling before. Odds are only one of us will pass from each team, though there is always a change for 2 to pass, but we'll see how it goes. I smiles and glanced over at the both of them. Sakura couldn't hide her shock, her eyes were wide, wild duck, but he at least could hide his shock better, but his arms were still shaking at this. I looked to Kakashi sensei. Sorry about stealing your thunder, sensei, I just really want to see the looks on their faces, and it was worth it. Anything you want to add to it? No problem, Naruto, and yes, there is one thing I would like to add. The test will be tomorrow 5 a.m. in Training Ground 42. Bring your ninja gear. Oh, and you might want to skip breakfast or you'll puke. Both Sasuke and Sakura had the same looks as before of shock. I just had a grin on my face. No breakfast, yay, right, nice try, Kakashi, and 5 a.m. I doubt you'd be there before 10. Looks like it's early morning training for me and a big breakfast. Right, that's it, you're dismissed. I've got a meeting with the Hokage to report on our first meeting, so I'll be going now. He made a hand sign and was about to use Shunshin, but. Hold up, sensei. I've got a few things to discuss with Gigi. Mind if I tag along? I asked. I could always wait until later, but I figure my team leader should be aware also, and as my father's student I can't help but feel somewhat connected. Sure, I see no reason why not, but only if you can keep up. I smiled at me before disappearing in a whirl of leaves. I just smirked before making the same hand sign and following suit, leaving Sasuke and Sakura gaping at the spot I was just in. Hokage office. Kakashi reappeared in front of the Hokage's desk and bowed. Hiruzen smiled. Ah, Kakashi, how'd Team 7's meeting go? I trust they weren't too much trouble. Kakashi stood up straight. Not at all, Hokage-sama. They are quite unique. 2 of them could use some work, while Naruto looks to be ahead of them, which is shocking considering his academy files saying he's one of the worst in his class. Hiruzen stroked his beard hearing that. This is very interesting. Would you care to comment on that, Naruto? Kakashi's eye opened in shock and he looked behind him to see me sitting comfortable on one of the sofas with a smile on my face. Kakashi's one visible eye blinked. How did you? Same way as you, only I took a quicker route. I said with my smile growing. I love showing off sometimes. Hiruzen smiled. So Naruto, care to enlighten us where you learned how to use the Shunshin and why Kakashi says you seem to be ahead of your classmates? I grinned. Of course I will, Gigi, I'll answer all your questions, as long as you answer some of mine as well. He looked at me curiously and with a smile. Oh, and what would you like to ask me? I leaned back and put my arms behind my head. I'll answer that too, but first could you please ask your shadows to leave? Hiruzen blinked twice. What do you mean, Naruto? I'm referring to the 3 Anbu currently stationed in this room as your bodyguards, the one above you in the ceiling, the one hidden in the shadow of the pillar by the bookcase, and the one that is currently sitting right next to me. I smiled. Both the Hokage's and Kakashi's eyes widened at the fact that someone who is only a genin, can locate Anbu, which are meant to be the best shinobi in the village. Naruto, how can you? I will discuss more about that after, but I will just say my senses are higher than the norm. I'd even say they surpass those of the Inuzuka clans. For example, the man in the ceiling. I don't know why, but he used a fruity hair shampoo this morning, so I was able to sniff him out. The only reason I'm not mistaking him as a woman is the fact that I can feel his chakra slightly, and it's definitely male. The one by the pillar had a very sweet cup of coffee and a rather fatty breakfast. He was the first I found when I arrived. I can smell the bacon breath from here. And as for the woman beside me, I smelled her shampoo also upon arrival, and it was mixed with the scent of sword polish. So would you 3 please come out and confirm my guesses if you don't mind? And no sooner had I spoken than the 3 Anbu showed themselves. One dropped from the ceiling and I was right, it was a man, wearing a white wolf mask. Another came out from behind the pillar, wearing a white and blue ferret mask, and another beside me shimmered into existence with long hair and a red and white cat mask. Well, I'm 3 for 3. I grin. Very impressive, Naruto. I can't wait to hear your explanations. The Sandaime Hokage responded, still quite shocked. You three may leave. The two males left, the bigger one mumbling something about having to use his girlfriend's shampoo, and the woman was about to when I put my hand on her and moved to whisper in her ear. Neko-chan, I'd recommend you take this opportunity to visit the rest room, unless you have recently killed someone, or have a fresh wound yourself. There is only one other reason I know of as to why I can smell blood from you. I just did not think to point out that fact to everyone in the room. I finished and pulled back with a smile. Though she was wearing a mask, it was more than likely she was either blushing with embarrassment or red with anger. Then a soft, arigato, came from her. I knew which one it was. No problem, Neko-chan. The embarrassed Anbu quickly shunshined away, and I stood up and walked over to join Kakashi. I had a smile on my face knowing it was about time to come clean, not about everything, but with these two, I could share some of what I have been hiding. As I approached the Hokage's desk, he made a hand sign and the curtains around the room shut. Good, he's taking this seriously. Okay, Naruto, start talking. Let's start off with why your academy papers don't accurately grade your skills as a shinobi. According to them, you're the dead last in your class. So how do you know an advanced technique like Shunshin? Kakashi asked me in an inquisitive tone, not taking me seriously yet. I simply smiled. Well, to answer all your questions, I think I should start from the very beginning. Firstly, I'd like to state this fact plainly and simply so as it's not confused as anything but, I know everything. Gigi and Kakashi looked at me for a second and then looked at each other and then back to me. What do you know, Naruto? Gigi asked. I simply looked him in the eye, all emotion stricken from my face as I spoke, everything. My emotionless face seemed to have caught their attention. Then tell us, Naruto, what? Everything. Do you know? Asked Kakashi, who seems to be taking me a bit more seriously now, but probably still doesn't view me as a threat. Your mistake. I let a little grin come to my face as I spoke. Well, let's start with the basics. I know who and what I am. I also know who, or rather what is sealed inside of me. At that, both Gigi and Kakashi's eyes and I opened wide and they both spoke at the same time. How? I let my grin fall. I can't tell them Kurama told me, or that fact that I've been getting tips and training from him. That's a one-way ticket to the T&I department. So time to lie. Loud-mouthed villagers who think I'm unconscious after beatings, is how I know what I am and what's inside me. As for who I am, well, I would have to be a complete idiot not to notice the similarities between me and my own father. I figured that part out halfway through the academy. It was the reason I stopped coming to see you for a few months, Gigi. I was pissed you kept it from me, especially when I had asked you so many times if you knew who my parents were. Though after a while I realized why you kept it a secret. You didn't want me growing up spoiled like that Uchiha Tem, and also that my father had a lot of enemies, especially in Iowa, and if it was outed the Yellow Flash had a son, I would have been dead even before my first birthday. So for those reasons I thank you, Hokage Gigi. I said as I bowed in gratitude. Author's POV. Both Jonin and Hokage looked at the boy in complete shock. First he tells them he knows 2S rank secrets, granted they were about him but he shouldn't know them. The Hokage had made laws forbidding anyone talking about them for all those that knew. So for a young child to bear the burden of these facts and accept them was nothing short of astounding. He knows. He bloody well knows. Why in the name of Kami did I even bother passing those laws, if people are just going around talking about it all regardless? The elder Hokage thought in anger. I will definitely give him credit. He found out 2 bits of classified information and he had the level head to keep that information to himself and the brain to realize it was all done for his own benefit. Not many genin can do that. And to say even more, he did it after 2 years in the academy and held through the next 2 years. Well done indeed, though an impressed Kakashi. Naruto's POV. I kept my head bowed as they thought to themselves. I knew this was it. Either they accepted I knew or I was going to be fighting my way out. Not that even the old man could stop me if I went all out. You are most welcome, Naruto. Please raise your head, that is not necessary. Gigi said in a neutral tone. I smiled at his words and raised my head, letting the smile fall. Naruto, I'm sure you probably want an explanation as to why this was kept from you. It's as you guessed. If Iowa had found out your lineage, they would have sent countless assassins after you, or they would have tried to seek your death as reparations for the numerous lives your father took in battle. I was planning on telling you when you became a strong shinobi, thus making you capable of defending yourself from any assassins and being protected under shinobi law. Gigi said, trying to justify his actions. I understand, Gigi, and I realize your reasoning behind it, as I have said. I clenched my fists, but do you realize what that decision meant for me? My eyes grew cold as I looked at the man. I could see the regret in his face, but damn it, it isn't enough. It meant that I had to suffer through years of neglect, abuse, anger, resentment, beating, and stuff I don't even want to list, because in all honesty it would make you see your last meal again. The old man's eyes shadowed. I could tell I had said enough to get my point across. I knew he must have been aware of what was going on, and that he tried to help me as much as he could, but it was because of his decision that I had to go through that hell, and even though I understand why, it still hurt. Naruto, I can only say how sorry I am that you had to suffer all those years. I tried to be there for you and keep you safe with my Anbu watching over you, he spoke sadly. I know, Gigi. When the Anbu started guarding me, the incidents grew less and less, because every time they happened the Anbu stepped in to help or to get me out of there. I am grateful for that, and to you, Kakashi, I know you were the one in the dog mask. I can't even count how many times you pulled me out of a bad situation when I was younger. Arigato. Kakashi nodded his head. It was the least I could do for my sensei's son. Did you know? Yes, I did. It's not a secret you were one of his students. And even so, I thank you for your help all those times, I said as I bowed my head. Gigi smiled at the two of us as I bowed to Kakashi in thanks, and I smiled at me. Now, Naruto, can you please start explaining to us why things don't match up with your academy records and your skills as a shinobi? Gigi asked with a gentle smile. I grinned. Well, I would have thought that would have been obvious. The entire 4 years I was at the academy, it was all an act. It was subtle, but I saw a brief second of shock on their faces. Well, I wasn't really sure what to think about Kakashi given I can only see one eye, but I'd say it was a shocked eye. Naruto, what do you mean it was all an act? Kakashi asked. I mean just that. The entire time I was at the academy I was putting on an act. The act of the dead last, dope, class clown, and village idiot, because it doesn't take a genius to realize that would have been the only way I was going to pass that academy. As I finished, I saw both their eyes narrow, well, I singular in Kakashi's situation. What do you mean, Naruto? How was that the only way you would have passed? Gigi asked, slight anger and confusion in his voice. Tell me, Gigi, what would have the civilian council's reaction would have been, while I was still a civilian, showed a dramatic increase in strength, skill and speed. I'll tell you what it would have been, because I can guess. They would have thrown a shit fit. They would have said the demon inside me had taken control and would have done everything in their power to make sure I failed the academy. But don't get me wrong, they still tried their damnedest to do so even when I was struggling. I spat, holding back none of the venom in my voice. Gigi's eyes narrowed even further. What do you mean? They tried to make you fail? I mean just that. Rigging tests, setting things up to make me look bad, telling shop owners it was alright to overcharge me and or sell me faulty goods, even set up a few beatings during the years to try to discourage me, none of which worked, of course. I was always one step ahead. I only answered the easy questions on the tests and gave partial answers on the harder ones. I scavenged and reused tools so as to not have to risk buying faulty ones at ridiculous prices, and those I did buy I always tested before using them in practice. As for the beatings, I ran when I could or just took them knowing the damn fox would heal me afterwards, knowing they wouldn't dare risking killing me. This way I wouldn't draw their attention any more than I already had it, and my plan worked to the best. Authors Pav. Both Hokage and Jonin listened to Naruto speak, and needless to say they were furious hearing how a civilian council had tried to sabotage a young shinobi in their village. The test rigging and overcharging they could stomach, though it made them want to puke, but the faulty goods and beatings that was crossing the line. Those bastards, Those damn rat bastards, how dare they do this to an aspiring shinobi in my academy? I swear heads will roll for this. I am going to find out who in the council is responsible and I'll have them hanged from the village walls. No one does this to one of my ninja, especially Naruto. I knew it was bad, but for this level of corruption, against a single individual, regardless of who it is, this is unbelievable, but yet total believable given the facts. I just can't believe it. No, it's that I don't want to believe it. How could someone actually put up with all this for so many years? Sensei, I'm sorry I wasn't there for him, but by Kami I will be now. Naruto's pav. Naruto. I held up my hand politely to stop Gigi. It's alright, Gigi. I still passed, didn't I? I knew exactly what I had to do to make sure I did. In order to get through the academy, there was only one team that I could pass me, and that is the team I am on now. Kakashi-sensei, am I correct in assuming you have been approached by a few members or people, and they have suggested to you of how it would be in the village's best interests if the last Uchiha passed the real Genin test and learned under you? Gigi's eyes widened at my suggestion, and looked to Kakashi. Kakashi, is this true? Hi, Hokage-sama, it is, but I never intended to listen to them or let them sway me. If the team is beyond hope, I intend to fail them, though from what I have seen so far, there is a small chance of them passing with Naruto here. Kakashi said regrettably. As I suspected. Had it been another Jonin, I suspect they would have bent under the pressure. That's why I had to be in his team, because his team was the only one that was guaranteed a pass with the council backing him. If I was anyone else's team, the odds were high I would have landed with a sensei with a grudge against the fox and would have failed the whole team and gave some bullshit reason behind it regardless of my skills, and then I would have been sent back to the academy with the whole council once again aiming for my head, and with my skills revealed I would have been cannon fodder and I would have been most likely swinging from the walls within a week. I knew I had to pass the first time in order to become a shinobi, because when I become a shinobi, I fall under your command, Gigi, and the civilian council. I finished letting Gigi and Kakashi realize my plan. Quote, comma dot. Can't to jack shit to you. Ha 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 ha. Well played, my boy, you have really thought this whole thing through, and I must say you're reminding me more and more of your father every second I listen to you explain your actions, and the way you say it reminds me so much of your mother. They would both be so proud of you. Gigi smiled at me. I can't help but feel a tear in my eye. Thank you, Gigi. You have no idea what hearing you say that means to me. Ever since learning who I was, I've always wondered if they would be. I can feel more tears coming as I wipe away the first. I take a deep breath to steady my nerves, and honestly, hearing that, and getting to this point, has made all the years of hell worth it. When I pass that test tomorrow, and I will. It will my you to the council and all those bastards in the village. I have no love for any of them. The only reason I stay is to prove each of them wrong and to see the look on their faces when they see what I can do and they know who I am and then they realize how much they have up. Well, my boy, that won't be long, if you pass. Gigi began, but I cut in. When I pass, it's not a matter of if, I will pass it. I smirked, knowing what they were thinking. You seem confident in your skills, Naruto, or is it maybe that you are underestimating the test itself? Kakashi chuckled. It's hard to underestimate the bell test, Kakashi. That is what you're planning on doing with us tomorrow, right? I looked at him with a shit-eating grin. Kakashi's eye widened and Gigi grinned. Ha ha ha, he's got your number, Kakashi. I smirked. Also, I'm not underestimating myself. I have just north of 20 jutsu under my belt, along with my taijutsu that should even be a match for you as long as you don't use your Sharingan, though I don't think you'd use it. Cause if word got out about you needing to use Sharingan against a genin, you'd be a laughing stock among the Jonin and Anbu in the village. As for my genjutsu, it's never been my forte. I know how to detect and dispel it with little effort, and as for my fuinjutsu. Gigi's eyes widened. More than 20 jutsu, that more than most Jonin have. How do you know fuinjutsu? Are you really surprised given who my parents were? Ever since I learned about them, I spent every moment I wasn't training, learning everything I could about the Uzumaki clan and their fuinjutsu, which honestly wasn't much, given the fact the art isn't taught at the academy and there are so few books on it in the library. I read what I could from what I could find and learned what I could as I went. I have skills enough to make paper bombs and sealing scrolls on the go, and even some of the more complex sealing and barrier tags, but that's about all I can do given the limited access I had to recourses as an academy student, and as for my jutsu, I learned it as I went. I explained. While I can believe you about your fuinjutsu, I find it hard to believe that you learned justice by yourself. What did you do? Pick it up off the street? Gigi asked in a joking way. Actually, Gigi, that's exactly what I did. You would be astounded the stuff people throw out with the garbage, damaged scrolls, still good weapons. I spend most of my nights sifting the village dump site for any useful items I can find, and over the years I've built up my own little library of jutsu scrolls and my own small weapons stockpile that I have safely stored away in an undisclosed hidden location in the village. My only safe haven within the village, and I know that comes as a slight shock to you, Gigi, given the fact you more than likely watch me through the crystal ball of yours. Sorry, but I've taken measures to ensure my privacy. I say, giving a slight grin and bow. What are you talking about? I may watch you, but I've never had any trouble keeping an eye on you. Gigi says, raising an eyebrow. I smirk. You sure about that? I say, making a very distinct hand sign, and with a poof of smoke a shadow clone of mine appears next to me. I mean, really sure. Shadow clones? That's a B-class forbidden jutsu. How and where did you learn that? Gigi asks wide-eyed. I shrug while dispelling the jutsu. Like I said, you wouldn't believe what people throw away, and this little number is how I have managed to elude your all-seeing crystal ball. You always watch my place with your ball and anbu, but in actual fact you're watching my shadow clone, and as for myself. I pull down my shirt collar and channel chakra into an area of my chest to show the black inking. I'm warded against spying. Your jutsu can't watch me when I don't want it to. Hee hee hee. So you've even managed to pull the wool over my eyes. You are most assuredly your father's son, so let me rephrase my earlier statement. When you pass your test and when you decide you want your lineage to be known, it will be known. I can see no reason not to reveal it now. If you are as skilled as you claim, I won't be able to touch you, and it would do the village standing good for the world to know there is still a Namikaze in the Leaf Village. Gigi grinned. I smiled. Thank you, Gigi. But I think making it public too soon would cause an uproar given the fact I played the prankster for so many years. Before we announce it, I think it would be best if I did some damage control first, noting Major just completing standard missions around the village with Team 7 to slowly change people's opinion of me so they will accept me when my name is announced. Let's give it till the Chunin exams. That's 6 months, plenty of time for making people change their view of me. Gigi looked to be in thought for a moment before smiling at me. Your plan is sound, Naruto. Very well, we shall put off revealing your identity till then, but I have a few more questions for you in the here and now. Very well, I only have one for you, so I will give you 3. We can set up other meetings later to ask any more we might have, and there is so much more I have been needing to talk to you about in regards to what is happening in this village that only I see. I said in a tone that left no room for arguing. I still have shit to do today. Very well. Would you like to go first, Naruto? Gigi asked. No, I shall leave mine till last as I want to get your 3 out of the way first. I gestured. Very well. Firstly, why did you not come to me when all this was happening? Surely I could have done something to help you. Did you not trust me? Gigi asked. Ouch, that hurt. No, Gigi, that's not it. I didn't come to you because in all honesty I didn't see the point. Had I came to you and told you all this earlier, you would have no doubt gotten involved and tried to fix everything then. But that wouldn't have solved anything. In fact, it would have made it worse by making it look like you were favoring me, and that would have given those bastards on the council ample excuse to try to force you to give up the hat and step down, and they would have seen someone more flexible wearing the hat. And by flexible I mean demon hater. And then where would that have left me? Royal screwed, that's were. With the council gunning for me and then your replacement on top of that with no way out except abandoning the Leaf, and I will be damned if I'm going to let those bastards force me out like that. Gigi nodded his head. I can see the logic in your reasoning. I'm just sorry it was like this for so long, but all that is going to change from today. Oh, I've been planning on it, Gigi. You didn't think I was taking all that shit all those years and not planning for some sort of pay pack, did you? Oh no, I've got big plans for all those who have messed with me over the years, especially all those in the civilian council. I am going to make their lives a living nightmare, the likes I have suffered through for years, thanks Gigi. Now, one thing I have been curious about, this undisclosed location of your where you have apparently stored all of your possessions. Gigi started. I held up my hand respectively before taking a quick breath. Before I say anything about that, Gigi, I'd like to ask that it not be taken away from me. I understand and submit to your right to do such a thing, but that place is my only safe haven in this village, and I ask that it be left to me. After a few seconds, Gigi nodded his head. Very well, my boy. I took a deep breath. I found that place on my first birthday after joining the academy. I had been unfortunate enough to be caught out on the streets and ended up being chased by a group of drunken fools. I was in no hurry for a beating, so I hid. That's when I discovered this hidden passageway. Now please let me finish before you speak. I was young at the time, so I wasn't exactly knowledgeable about most things, but, looking back now, I understand exactly what that place was built and hidden for, and just who built it. It was a hidden live-in research laboratory, most likely installed by the traitor Orochimaru. The stuff that was in there, well, let's just say at the time I hadn't had much experience seeing that type of stuff, and it led to me puking my guts out a few times. I swear the dump smelled better. Upon realizing I could make use of the place as a second home and storage location, I began to clear it out, puking every few minutes as I did. I swear the things I saw in there. It would be enough to turn your hair white. Anything that looked dangerous I burnt. There was quite the extensive library of scrolls and jutsu which I have added to over the years, a half-stocked armory. Now fully stocked, as well as living quarters, kitchen, bathroom, indoor gardens, training and work areas, and now as a shinobi under the Leaf Village, it is my right to lay claim to anything I find under there for myself. Under shinobi law it all belongs to me. If need be, I will recite the law and paragraph to which I am referring, but given that you have written over 20% of the shinobi laws, Gigi, I don't believe that is necessary. Both Hokage and Jonan's skin turned pale at the revelation of a hidden laboratory in the village, but after a few moments they began to nod slowly. As you wish, Naruto, it is your right to somewhere that makes you feel safe, and given your newly displayed intelligence, I don't think you are foolish enough to have kept anything that could pose a threat to this village. No, only scrolls, jutsu, weapons and a few other things that piqued my interest, but there is nothing that could pose any sort of threat to the village. I reassured him. I see. I will trust your judgment on these facts. Now my finally question, what do you plan on doing now that you're no longer hiding your true strength? Gigi asked. I have quite a few plans and goals that I wish to see achieved. I've made quite the extensive list over the years, but currently there are 3 major ones that I aim for, all the rest are secondary to these. The first of which is to become recognized enough that I can take that hat from you, Gigi, to become Hokage myself, to see the looks on the people's faces who have put me down over the years and to right the wrongs in this village. The second of which is linked to the first, to become recognized throughout the land of fire as the single most skilled shinobi there is by whichever means possible, and the third objective which I will see come to pass, is the restoration and growth of the Uzumaki and Namikaze joint clans, to see my parents' clans restored to their former glory and then rise above it to make them the greatest assets to that of the Hidden Leaf. Both Gigi and Kakashi looked at me with pleasantly surprised looks on their faces. Naruto, that's a wonderful ambition, but you do realize in doing that you will have to take a seat at the council, and on top of that will have to meet all the criteria required for forming a clan, either specialty skills or bloodline limiters, and since Kekkei Genkai are out of your grasp, I am not sure how you would. Kakashi spoke, trying to help. I just smiled. Let me worry about that, Kakashi. I will see my parents' clans resurrected and brought back to greatness one way or the other. A smile graced the Hokage's face. Well, I might just have a way to help you with that, Naruto. I looked at him as he got up and walked over to the small safe at the side of the room. After opening it, he took out a single scroll and came over to the table, opening it and setting it out. It was a deed to a house. Gigi, Is this what I think it is? I asked, looking at it a little excited. Yes, it is. It is the deed to your parents' home. Your home. After your parents died, I immediately pulled together all their resources so that those greedy bastards in the civilian council didn't get their hands on it, because with your identity hidden, the lot would have been put under the village's control, so I snatched it up before they could sell it off for their own profit. I was going to give it to you when you were told of your heritage, but it seems that is no longer necessary. I took up the scroll and smiled a happy smile, trying my best to not break down in joyous tears. The house is well guarded. Both your parents were master at fuinjutsu, and as such the house has multiple security seals protecting it, and I believe that inside you will find scrolls containing your father's own personal ninjutsu and scrolls containing all of his works along with some of your mother's clan fuinjutsu. Both of those would give you a foothold for when you plan on starting to resurrect your parents' clans. I smiled. I always wondered what happened to all of that. I thought maybe it had been destroyed in the attack. I'm glad it wasn't. Well, that actually answers the question I had, so I don't need to ask it now. Gigi smiled at me. The house address and details are all in the deed. You can go there now if you want. The gate has a blood lock seal on it. Only those who carry your father's blood or who are permitted may enter. I see. I think I'll go and see it now. I'll move in after the test tomorrow. I think I'm going to be getting some rather extra angry looks when I do. I smirked, rolling my eyes. I will be along shortly, though you still have to sign the deed first. Gigi grinned, gesturing to the deed. Oh sure. I took the brush and signed my name to the deed as it quickly dried. One step closer. Just wait, Dad. I'll make you proud. Thank you, Gigi. I'll be going now. Very well, Naruto-kun. I'll see you shortly. He smiled to me. Okay, Gigi, later. I said as I took off out the door, closing it behind me and ignoring the dirty look from the secretary. I was in too good a mood to be bothered by it as I raced to the side door and took off in the direction of the house, my home. I suppose I should start calling it that. Scene break. Landing on street level 1 was already getting some more looks of disgust from people on the street, but I just blanked them out as I followed the street numbers, but then stopped. Then a wall took up the rest of the street. It was quite high up, at least 8 feet high, and quite long. I started walking along it until I came to the gate. 2 gates actually. One was a metal guard gate with thick metal bars and fuinjutsu markings on it, with a set of wooden doors behind it. On the metal gate there was the Uzumaki crest where the fuinjutsu lead to. Knowing what to do, I bit my thumb and smeared my blood on the crest and pumped my chakra into it. There was a distinct series of clicks as the gate unlocked and I opened it. I could feel the glares of everyone watching me with anger suddenly turn into shock as I opened the gate. I didn't even turn to look. I opened the gate and walked through, closing it behind me as the lock resets and I walk forward, opening up the wooden doors. I walk in, closing them behind me as well. I now stand in awe at what was in front of me. It was a large 2-story house, with a massive garden up front. There was a large porch out front and a stone path leading up to it. I had been expecting a more traditional home like the Hyuga or Nara compounds. I wasn't expecting this. It was a family home. I smiled as I walked up to the front doors. I opened the right one and walked inside. I had expected to come into a large layer of dust and cobwebs. After all, no one should have been in here in 15 years, but to my surprise there was none. The place was immaculate. I walked into the hallway. There were double doors to the left and right with a stairway to the side leading to the second floor, with the hallway continuing to the kitchen and dining room that I could see. Turning to the right, I opened the first double doors. It was a sitting room, 3 sofas all in a semicircle of the fireplace. Above it there's a portrait painting of my mother and father in each other's arms with smiles on their faces. I couldn't help but smile, but I closed my eyes and looked away. Damn it, they look so happy. Why, I wish I could have met them just once. I'm sorry, Kit. Don't be Kurama. It wasn't your fault. It was that bastard, and I will end him, for both of us. I turn and walk out of the room to the next. It was a library filled to bursting with a desk and sofas. This must have been Dad's office. I walk over to the desk and there are multiple scrolls on it, each still in progress of being completed. So much knowledge. My eyes widen as I look to the shelves. Did he write all of these? He did. I remember from my time sealed in your mother. Your father would often spend hours behind that desk writing down jutsu formula, sealing notes, everything he knew. It all started when he found out your mother was pregnant with you. He wanted to write everything down for you. I smile a sad, happy smile as I feel my eyes begin to tear up. I quickly wipe them away as I walk out of the room and close the door. I'm defiantly putting a lock seal on this door. Should anyone get in this house, I don't want them getting anything in that room. I turned and walked up the stairs. I came to the top and looked from left to right. There were several doors. I walked to the closest one first. I opened it, and when I saw what was inside, I stopped. The walls were painted a light blue. There were slightly darker leaf symbols painted on the walls. In the corner there was a wooden crib with white sheets and the Uzumaki symbol on them in red. There were numerous cuddly toys all over the room and a banner hung from the ceiling, "Welcome home." I finally let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding, and then it all hit me. Damn it. I dropped to my knees as I feel my tears stream down my cheeks. This was meant to be my room. At that very moment I don't think I ever wished for something as hard in my life. I wish I would have known them. I wish they hadn't have died. I wish I could have grown up with them as my parents. I wish it hadn't been this way. Thoughts filled my mind, thoughts of how it could have been, how I could have grown up with them and been happy, how we could have been a loving family. Before all of this happened, before I had even met Kurama, I had the thoughts every orphan or abandoned child had. Did they not want me? Was I not good enough? Why did they leave me? Most nights I had fallen asleep in tears, sobbing, crying out for them to come and take me away, to make the hurt stop. I just wanted family. Someone to hold me. I was so lonely, so frightened, and at this very moment I knew the truth. They did want me. They truly wanted me. I had been told as much, but seeing this room brought back all those memories of those nights, all those worries and pain, the burden I had been carrying all those years. It was finally lifted. As I curled up my knees to my chest, I just wept and let it all just go. I don't know how long it had been, or how long I had been lying there weeping with my eyes shut, but when I opened them again it was starting to get dark outside. I must have been crying so much that I mentally exhausted myself and passed out. I slowly stood up and walked to the door, closing it behind me. I don't think I'll be going back in there for some time yet. So many painful thoughts. You okay, Kit? I know that must have been rough. I'm fine, Kurama. Just finally grieving, I suppose. Never really thought about them this much before. I was so focused on making them proud of me. I never thought of how much they actually loved me. As I wiped away another tear. I'll be alright come morning. I'll check out everything else in the house first light. But right now I'd best go pay Gigi a visit. He probably stopped round like he said he would and I didn't let him in. He must be worried. I started down the stairs and stepped out into the front yard before making a few hand signs and shunshined way. Time skip. Moments later I arrived in the Hokage's office with a small smile on my face. He looked up in shock. Oh, Naruto-kun, I wasn't expecting you. I had come by the house earlier, but you must have been busy when you didn't respond. Ah, sorry Gigi, the house was harder on me than I thought it was going to be. A lot of painful thoughts of what could have been. The Hokage looked closer at the blonde's eyes. They were still red. He could tell he had been crying a lot, and simply gave a nod of understanding. That's fine, Naruto. No harm done. I had expected that much. The past can be a painful thing. So was there something you wanted to talk about? I nodded as I approached the desk. Yes, I was wanting to bring up a matter concerning the teaching at the academy, or the lack of, as it were. Oh, and what do you think it's lacking on? The aging Hokage said, setting down his brush and picking up his pipe before leaning back in his chair. Everything. I responded bluntly. Every class only covers the basics on the subjects and has a large margin on what is deemed a passable results. Even the practical classes don't demand enough. Put simply, the academy is not up to scratch. Gigi nodded at my speculations. Yes, Naruto, I understand where you're coming from on this point. In fact, I have raised this fact multiple times with the council, but the fact of the matter such margins are required for a lot of the students to actually pass the academy. With all due respect, Gigi, that's a load of bullshit. The only reason the academy is like that is so that civilian children can pass easily. They walk in there weak and come out weak, liable to die in the first 5 serious missions they take on. Heck, I'm surprised most of them don't fall on their own kunai coming out the front gate, and if the lessons weren't bad enough, the censoring by the council is even worse. Gigi's eyes narrow at this. What censoring? The blatant censoring of historical facts and moments in this village's history. In the entire time I was in the academy, I never once heard mention of Uzushiogakure, the land of whirlpools, or any mention of the Uzumaki clan. They didn't even cover the fact that Shodai Hokage was actually married to an Uzumaki, or the fact she was the container of the 9 tails before my mother and then me. I can understand leaving the fox out of the lessons, but blatantly holding back information of the history of my clan and the oldest allies of the Leaf Village is despicable. Author's POV. The whole time the blonde had been talking, the Hokage had been clenching his fists, reeling in his killing intent at this outrage. How dare they? How dare they do such a thing? Choosing what is relevant to teach and what is not, even going so far as to remove the existence of an ally village from the teachings, and to remove all of that. This will not stand. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Naruto. I will assure you of this. I will fix this and right this despicable act. You have my word. Naruto's POV. I bowed to Gigi in thanks. Thank you, Hokage-sama. That is all I ask. Now if you will excuse me, I have to be going. I have my test tomorrow and I must get some sleep. Yes, goodbye Naruto-kun. Sleep well. I know I will if I ever get this infernal paperwork done. He sighed. As I walked away, I stopped for a second. Gigi, might I recommend something that might help? He smiled to me. Oh, and what might your recommendation be concerning? Your paperwork problem. I think I have something that just might solve it. I smirked. Oh, do tell. I always pleaded with your father to tell me his secret, but he never told me, and just rubbed that fact in my face. Well, I would too. It's actually quite simple, Gigi, and I honestly can't believe someone who has the titles of God of Shinobi and the Professor hasn't figured it out yet. 2 words, Gigi. Shadow clones. Good night. I smiled. I turned around and walked out the door. As I walked away, I could hear the repeated thumping that sounded a lot someone being hit. I looked back into Gigi's office to see him repeatedly smacking his head off the table. Stupid, 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 stupid. I smirked, closing the door once again and walking off again.